Welcome to Rose Colored Radio, Mediumship Mixtape. I'm medium Linda Heithaus, and I'm joined by my co-host, radio personality, Julie Guy. This is
Hi,
our
hi.
podcast.
Very exciting.
Yes.
The first one just went by so fast.
We have lots to talk about today.
We do, and that's because we didn't get to everything last time. Wow, where do I start? I think one of the first things that we ended the last podcast on was something that I know a lot of mediums and a lot of people who work in this field probably feel like they have to do, but you don't necessarily, is constantly deal with the people who think you're a fraud.
Mm-hmm.
So when you brought that up last time, and plus, the religious aspect, and there's so many things, which it kind of annoys me because religion has just been so indoctrinated in all of us, no matter what religion you are. It could be Christian, Catholic, Jewish, Buddhist, whatever, fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
And none of that is based on anything but what man has said or faith or just lore. I mean, and I'm not poo-pooing religion in any way, shape, or form. I grew up Catholic, all of that. But this has always been something considered kind of like the devil. What do you have to say about that?
I'm really glad we're talking about this because this is something that I had to work through personally for so many years. And it was always in the back of my head. What if people don't believe me? What if somebody comes up to me? Or what if I post something online and somebody says, you're channeling a demon and, what do I do? And I felt yucky about it. And honestly, it took years to kind of come to terms with it. And it no longer bothers me because if I have the intention to prove what I'm doing is real, instead of just channeling your loved ones, it changes everything. It actually lowers my vibration. And the other thing is, I'm not here to change anybody's mind. That's not what I'm here to do. And it took me a while to understand that. And I don't expect people to understand the reality I live in. I really live with one foot here on earth in the physical world and the other foot in the afterlife, heaven, whatever you want to call it. I really straddle these two dimensions. I've been doing it my whole life. But what I've come to realize, Julie, is this being a medium and channeling and seeing your loved ones is so good that nobody can touch it. Nobody calling me the devil can even make a dent in how beautiful this is for me. So it really doesn't affect me anymore. And yeah.
Okay, 2 points on that. I don't know if this is maybe I don't know where this came from in my head right now, but you know how we've heard of NDEs, near death experiences,
Yes,
and
yes.
people say it's the most amazing. Not everybody. There's been 9 out of 10 people that I've read accounts of have said that that feeling that and when you're in the light is just so unbelievable that they don't want to come back because it's so amazing. Can you possibly say that that's what it might feel like for you?
Yes. It is a little different channeling because your loved one, like when I channel your dad, he's coming here to visit me for you. But the beautiful thing is when I sleep, I'm entering heaven or the afterlife in my dreams. I know because I have that feeling when I dream. I know I'm there. And it's the most
Oh
beautiful.
my.
You just want to stay there. It's really hard, honestly, to find the words to describe how good it feels. And I have read a lot of NDEs. Um, and I totally believe in it and reincarnation. But yeah,
What a gift. What a gift, Linda. And speaking of that, when you realized, okay, that you were like, and I think we may have touched on this, but I want to reiterate this again. When you were like, okay, you're having this conversation with your guides and you're like, all right, I'm going to dive in. I'm going to do this.
Mhm.
You said to them,
If I'm going to do this, we have to be very accurate. I have to be good at this. So you need to give me every possible detail. So that was always my goal, was to, what kind of, oh my gosh, you're wearing Nike Air Jordans. And, I can see in that great of a detail. And it turns out that if you ask for those details or if you intend to get those, you will. They are very, very willing to work with me. And I figured that out very quickly. And my gift just kind of exploded and quickly. And I get so many incredible. I think your dad showed me like a hot sauce one time, and it was the exact brand of hot sauce that you had bought
yes,
the weeks before,
because my daughter wanted the Cholula, and
Yeah.
I don't eat hot sauce at all. So when you were hot sauce, I initially had said no. I'm like, no. And you have to really think because it's so specific. And I was like, oh my God, yes. I have Cholula. My daughter made me buy it. And yes, and you have been. Listen, I can speak to that. You have channeled for me. You are very specific, very specific.
And I think when people come for a reading, they kind of expect this. There's a lot of
Yes.
shows, and so this is kind of the expectation. I
They
mean,
do, and I think that that's because and I'll speak from the person who's sitting in front of you. I miss both of my parents, I mean, so much that I want really to believe, I want to believe that they're here and they see what's going on. So your specificity
mhm.
is exactly what I need to when I'm walking around in a day having a bad day, wanting to know that my parents, my dad, whomever that day is hanging out with me. So it really does make a difference. And I think that that's amazing that you can do that and that you've instructed your guides to do so. Case in point. So Sunday we spoke. What day did we speak? I don't remember. But this past weekend I was out to lunch with my kids, and you said, "Okay, don't worry about this right now. I just have to send it to you because I'm going to forget." And these were lovely, lovely messages you sent me about some visits that you got. Could you speak about that?
I can't wait to tell everybody about this. So, Julie and I recorded our first podcast last week, and I spoke about a few of the children who, in spirit, who visit me regularly. They're not visiting me, they're coming. So, I will connect them with their mom, give them their mom their messages, which I love doing. I was thinking about our podcast on a Sunday morning. I was laying in bed, and all of a sudden, I just had these four kids pop in. The first one, and they know they heard the first podcast, and Kylie's mom, Kylie, is the life of the party. She was 4 when she passed,
Oh,
owned the room. And when I sent her mom these messages, I said, she wants us to talk about her. And her mom wrote back 100% that is totally her. So Kylie has this curly hair. I saw her. I recognized her immediately. Her curls bounce, and she's this little beautiful little kid's voice. And I said, "Hi, Kylie. What do you want to tell your mom?" And she had reindeer antlers on, like a headband, and her nose was red. And she said, "I'm Rudolph and I'm in a Christmas play." I said, "Okay, check." And then she showed me she lost a tooth, and then she twirled, but she loved wearing dresses. She twirled and she was wearing this beautiful Christmas dress. It was red plaid. So I sent her mom this message, and the text I got back was, "Oh my, we were literally just talking about Kylie's Christmas play." Kylie's been gone, I think 10 years now, but it's
oh,
December. We're filming this, and the holiday
yeah.
coming up, and she was remembering this. And her sister, now they have a daughter, Brooklyn. Brooklyn had just lost a tooth, and that morning her mom had put her in a plaid Christmas dress to go to church before I sent the message. So what that is Kylie saying, "I heard you talking about me. I see my beautiful sister wearing this dress, and I'm dressed the same as her." And Trace is Kylie's mom. I've known her for many years, and Kylie is a regular visitor, and she loves it. She said it made her day.
Well, you sent that to me and you sent me the video. And I mean, I have a hard time keeping it together. And I asked you, how do you do this? Because she's 4. Like, as a mom, I'm going to start to cry now. As a mom, a 4-year-old, like, I don't,
I
how do you keep it together? I mean, the parent obviously has to deal with just grief that is unfathomable to me, but how do you do it? You're a mom.
Yeah. I will tell you, after, I definitely think about the mom and what she's gone through. And I will never forget the day that Trace came for a reading. I did not know who she wanted. And like, she had grandparents come through, and I could tell there was someone in the space that hadn't come through yet. And I said, "Who else is here for Trace?" And this little girl walked into this space. And in that moment, you realize my client Trace has come to hear from her little girl, and she's lost a little girl. And that is not the time for me to get sad. That is the time for me to connect with Kylie's energy. And like on Sunday, when I blend with her, it feels so good. There is no sadness. It's
Ugh,
this, like bubbly joy, like before, like you're at a concert, and right before Taylor Swift comes on stage, that feeling, that like incredible,
yes, yes. Anticipation. Yes, yes, yes.
that's what Kylie feels like. And
Oh, Linda, that's beautiful. And that's why you help so many because, maybe she's okay now. You said it's 10 years, but there's still grief doesn't go away. It just kind of finds a place to sit until every once in a while it shows up and says, "Hello, I'm
Mhm,
still here."
mhm.
And you deal however you deal. But I mean, I think it's beautiful that you gave her that little reminder. Just when and she probably was on her phone and, "Oh my God, this is amazing." You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I
So then
mean,
you spoke about Jack. Talk
Jack
to us about Jack.
Jack is funny. He was 17 when he passed away. He passed away from an accidental fentanyl overdose.
Ugh.
He was he was 18, and I met his beautiful mom, Brady, a few years ago. Actually, she lives in Florida, but we've never actually met in person, but we are very close. And Jack is another one who just does these impromptu pop-in visits, and I know I'm in for a good time when he shows up because, he
How do you talk about them? They're like they're your friends. I think that's just the coolest.
you know what? I know them. I recognize these guys instantly. I know
That's amazing.
I mean, when I'm seeing a spirit, people wanna know, like, "Hey, what do they look like?" They look just like their photos, like, "I'm looking at you." They're kind of like a hologram, but they are human, they have hair. Women come wearing makeup, but anyways, Jack came, and he had a green sweater on with the Grinch. Again, Christmas. And then, you know how those sweaters, those ugly sweaters, they have the lights in them?
Yeah.
He turned the lights on and he goes, "Can you see me now?" I mean, this is
Uh,
his personality. I mean, he is funny, right? And I said, "Yes, Jack, I can see you now." And he goes, "Hey, my mom hates olives." Like the most random thing. And I said, "Okay." And really that's all I had time to get because I had to get out of, I had to get up and get going. But I sent his mom that message and she goes, "LOL, Linda, I actually do. I despise olives." And then a couple,
that was I would presume, I'm gonna interrupt real quick,
oh, yeah, yeah.
a way for him to tell her, "Just so you know, I want you to know that because this,
Yeah. It's
because then."
Yeah. Next or she sent me a text about an hour later and she said, "Hey, I'm thrifting." And she sent a photo. It was the exact Grinch sweater she had pulled off the rack and taken a picture of it. And I said, "Love, Jack. That's
I
your
mean,
I love you for the day." I almost felt these things happen all the time to me but I never get tired of them. I almost fall over. I just feel electric. It's just this like pulse of like love and connection. And you know what? I really want to tell you that when I feel Jack's love for his mom, I feel Joaquin's love for Patricia. And I love these people. I mean, they're not relatives, but they are like the loves of my life. These
oh,
moms.
wow, how beautiful.
And I don't really feel sad when I look at Patricia, Joaquin's mom, or Brady because I'm looking at them through their children's eyes. This is their mom. And I just look at them through a lens of love. And that's why I call myself, the rose-colored medium because everything spirit shows me is through these rose-colored glasses. That's why nothing can touch this because it's just so good. And I say that with the caveat that I know that these children are gone and they've passed away, but if I focus on that, I can't do my job. And so this is a space I stay in and it works so beautifully. And the feedback I get is just wonderful.
So we're going to touch on so many more stories, but what I want to ask you is this. Why do you think this is important to have this validation, these stories? I mean, and there you have so many. I want you to tell the story at some point of the older gentleman that you
Mhm.
spoke to on a weekly, was it a weekly basis?
Every 6 weeks, Stephen, and that's
Stephen, that story, but we will get to that. But why do you think this is important? Because again, people think it's whatever. And I even hate to talk about that because I don't want to give that any type of value because
right.
I do believe I don't think this is just it, you know? And I don't believe that just because the people that we love aren't here physically, that they're not here energetically. But that's hard too when you're in the moment of grief,
Oh, yeah.
or even if you're missing them to kind of go, well, I know they're here, you know? So why do you think your work is so important?
I'll tell you, I'll start by telling you what Patricia Oliver said we were interviewed one day and the she was asked that question, how do you accept Linda's gift or what does it mean to you? And Patricia said, "I never got to finish my role as a mother. My son died at 17. So this is perfect because I still get to hear from my son." There's many different reasons to see a medium, and I've seen it so many times where people come and they tell me that they feel like they just had a live visit with their loved one. You know, there's if you didn't get to say goodbye, if you miss their death, people hold on to this incredible guilt and sadness. And those messages come through in readings, and I'll say, you know, your dad saw you running through the airport and to make that flight that you didn't get to his bedside. He died before you can get there, and it's been 20 years, and this person's holding on to this. And I say, "It's okay. He saw you. He saw you at the funeral, you know, like, let that go. He wants you to let that go." Those are the types of messages that come through, and this is why I say this is healing, because people feel lighter when they leave. And I really think it's important to know, I mean, we miss our loved ones. It's kinda nice to know that they still can see us. I lost my
Oh,
dad. He never met any of he has 5 grandchildren. My dad never walked me down the aisle. He died before I got
oh,
married. But now I know he sees it all, and it is not a replacement for the physical
right, of course.
course, but I think it's really nice that they have this window into our world, and they also can send us signs too.
So, okay, that's very good little segue there. What are some of the most common? Because I find pennies and I'll always look up and everyone's like, well, don't pick it up if it's not heads up. And I'm like, I don't care. I pick it up anyway. It's pennies from heaven. They're saying hello. And it will always be in a random place when I'm thinking about them or have some type of a, dilemma, whatever, if you will. But obviously I get pennies and certain songs, but what are some other ones that you know of that you've given to some of your clients? Or
There's
your friends, I should say your friends.
Well, besides having a reading with a medium and then validating things that are happening in your life, one, you can ask for signs. You really have to ask or believe that it's real. If you don't really believe or you're not really expecting to see something, they can't really keep doing it. They can send anything that flies. Birds, huge sign. I know the cardinal is like the standard sign from heaven, but
Right.
any bird really, like if there's a bird on your car or feathers, they can leave feathers, coins, dragonflies. If you have a butterfly come and just kind of do a circle around you, that's a visitation. They can manipulate an animal's energy. I know people have asked for deer, and deer have showed up in the backyards. If you
Wow.
see if you pull up behind a license plate with their name, or sometimes actually, this is a great story about Jack and Brady. In the reading, I said to Brady, Jack is showing me you going into the post office, and you go up to the counter, and there's a young male behind the counter, and he keeps showing me this young male. What is it about this young male? And she goes, "Oh my God, Linda, that is so happens." I go to the post office once a week to mail packages. I go to the same guy. His name is Jack, and we talk about Jack. So there you go. There's a sign.
Oh, I just had a similar thing happen just last week, so that's kinda cool
Oh, what
that you
happened?
bringing that up. Well, it's weird, I talked about it briefly. I went to the cemetery to see my parents, and there was nobody there, but there was this big pickup truck, and it was blue, and it was, like, lifted. It was one of those pickup trucks that you expect this, like, big guy to get in, right? And there's only one person at the cemetery, and it's this big open space, and it's this little old woman, and in my head, I'm like, "Oh my god, if this woman gets into this truck, like, she is, like, badass." In my head,
Yeah.
and, oh my god, she's walking towards this truck, and I thought, "You gotta be kidding me." So I walk by her, and I'm going, and she's coming, and she says to me, "Looks like everybody's doing okay here." And I said, "They sure are." I go, "We're not the ones doing okay." And she goes, "I know." So she gets in the truck, and I start to cry, and I'm walking towards my parents, and I checked for my phone just to make sure it was there, and I hadn't put these shorts on in a while, and I had a piece of paper in my shorts, and I pulled it out, and it was a flyer that I folded up and put in my back pocket for Santa Lucia Day, and my mom's name is Lucia, and
Mhm.
it was the coming Saturday, and I was like, "Okay, so
Mhm.
you're here,
Mhm.
and you're doing okay." And I mean, if that isn't a sign, I don't know what is, you know?
Absolutely, it is.
But I mean, and so that's a good thing I wanted to ask you. So that was to me, I knew. I was like, "All right, cool, you're here. This is great." How about the people who are like, "But are you sure? But I want another one. But I want this." Like, it's never enough.
Yes, I have a lot of people come and they'll say, I used to get signs and I don't anymore. And it's not that your loved ones have given up and moved on and they're not around. That is so far from the truth. Your loved ones are kind of always with you. Oh, another one is pictures. When you look at a picture you have photos of your dad and mom in your house?
Yeah.
So many times in reading, I'll say, "The picture on the fridge of your son, when you look at it, he's literally standing behind you." So, people don't know that that's a way to
That
connect, but it's an instant connection because you're looking at their face, right? And you're
Oh,
missing.
how beautiful. I don't think people realize that.
Just look at a photo. If you wanna dream about your loved ones, that your loved ones can actually visit you when you're dreaming, and I will say that if you're in grief, grief can block it because grief is sadness, so sometimes you have to be patient and wait, but don't give up. Just ask them to visit you, put their picture on your nightstand, intend to dream with them, and see what happens.
How beautiful, Linda. Okay, you have to tell the story. Okay, so we are both Swifties,
Oh,
but you have taken your Swiftiness to the nth power. You saw her 3 times,
did. Yeah.
and what did you just tell me recently?
So I was lucky enough to get original front row seats to her last show in Vancouver.
Amazing, and you didn't spend, like, your a mortgage payment.
No, no, they were very reasonable, but how incredible was it that I got a code, I got tickets to see her in the stadium that I saw Michael Jackson in. I saw the Jackson 5 in this same stadium. Like, this is where my love of concerts and music began when I was 8 when I went to my first concert
Oh
there.
my god.
Such a moment for me, and so I saw her in Vancouver in the front row, and you know that feeling when you're in a concert. I've talked about this in music, how electric and bubbly, and it's like you've been transported to another plane of, I don't know, existence or another
I
vibration.
believe that, yes. You are elevated to, like, it's almost like you're meeting the music.
Yeah, and and everybody else collectively, you're all having the same experience. So imagine
Yes,
how, that's why I love concerts so much.
I do too.
And music, but I was just watching Taylor just released her last concert documentary. It's on Disney Plus. So I had been watching it Saturday night, reliving my experience at the show, and that was Saturday night, and I actually cried watching it because happy tears because I'm so moved by music. And Sunday morning I had all these spirits. Joaquin came too and gave his mom specific messages. I had 4 spirits come Sunday morning. So that's what watching that Taylor Swift documentary, I mean, I'm open all the time, but sometimes you need a little help, right? And
Yeah, of course.
yeah,
Well, because you can't operate in this realm. It's not, I'm acting like I know what I'm saying, but I do. You can't operate here if you're all the way up here all the time. You
true.
just can't because you can't meet people where they're at. So, like the reason why I love concerts is you're transported, and
Mhm,
we're there's a frequency to music, and
mhm.
so it is a frequency that we're. That's why when you come down, when I leave a concert, I always like this have like the blues
Yeah,
afterwards because I'm like,
y
that was so amazing there, and now what's next?
yeah,
So it's amazing that that's your connection to meet the frequencies of everybody that's passed away, passed on.
yeah.
I think it's beautiful, Linda.
Yeah, I love that music is such a big part of this gift, and I don't think it is for every medium, but the incredible thing is my team knows that how much I love music. So yes, they're going to give me music as I work. Joaquin is funny because he's a little demanding, but in the most loving way. And sometimes I'll hear music first. Joaquin plays the Beatles a lot, and I'll hear Beatles music. I hear it in my head, right? And then he'll show up and it's his way of, "Hey, I'm."
Like his intro song.
Yes, he played, that song Lionel Richie, "Hello."
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
"Hello, is it
Is it me or
for." I heard that one morning, and then he came into view and he goes, "Hi."
and
Like,
that must make Patricia feel so good to know that her son is so funny.
she laughs. You know what, the beautiful thing for Patricia, and I talk about every spirit this way, we talk about him in the present tense. So I'll say, "I saw Joaquin this morning. He is wearing a jersey. He showed you doing this." So she loves it. And I want to be clear that I do have permission to tell all these stories, but also in the beginning when I first met her and he started coming, and of course we're going to talk about him a lot more. I made sure she was okay. I never ever wanted to make anybody feel, you know, and worse or
Exploited.
exploited or sad,
Right,
and
right.
I just, in the beginning, I would say, "Is it okay if I tell you a message? I saw him." And quickly she's like, "Of course, I love it." She always jokes, "You're stuck with me for life." I said, "You're stuck with me for life."
And I think it speaks a lot to who you are, Linda. You really are it's such a cliche to say Canadians are nice. I mean, I'm Canadian too, but I moved here when I was, younger, and you moved here when you were like in your 20s.
26.
So you were definitely you're Canadian, and you are such a kind person. I mean that.
Thank you.
I met you and it was just like of course they chose you because your intention is so pure that everybody feels it from you, you know?
I was thinking about my path this morning. Usually, when I'm doing something repetitive, I was folding laundry and I was thinking about, where I came from and how I got here, and how this gift gives back. And it's like a muscle. The more you do it, the more you want to do it. I get excited when I have a client. I'm like, who am I going to meet today? Whose loved one do
That's amazing. That's
um
amazing.
it feels so good.
So I think that coming up, we need to talk about Joaquin. We need to
Yeah.
dedicate because for those who don't know, Joaquin was unfortunately part of the MSD tragedy that happened on Valentine's Day. That is just no one can ever forget that. And that not only brought you one of your best friends, but he's become a part of your life. And I think it's a very important story to tell.
Mhm.
And we have to talk about Stephen.
Yes, Steven's story is one that it's cliche, but it'll knock everybody's socks off. I still
Yeah.
cannot believe he showed up in spirit for me. Steven was a client of mine, and he was in his 70s and he passed away, and I kind of always wondered, what will he do to show to my sign? What will my sign be? And this is this yeah, we need to dedicate a while to
We'll
this.
talk that yeah. So those are a couple of more stories that we will, unearth and uncover, but, Linda, you're like an onion, although much better smelling. We peel back the layers, and there's just so much, and there's so
A
many
rose,
questions.
a rose. I like
A
to use
rose! Much
everybody is everybody's a rose. Everybody has these layers, and think of, like, if you wanna try and connect with your loved ones, picture yourself as a flower, like, opening to the sun and see what happens.
Okay, and in our next episode, that's also something we're gonna touch on one of our episodes, because we have so many things to discuss, is how we can make some connections without you.
Mhm.
Not that we don't want you, because you are so amazing, but if, you're in in your space and you're feeling like, "I just need something," how
Mhm.
you can connect as well, and I know that you can speak to that. So, we
Mhm.
have so much more to uncover on rose-colored radio.
Yeah, I can't wait, I can't wait.
I can't wait either. See you next time.
Okay, thanks, Julie.